think I'm set. Hey YouTube, I am in need of your help. I am looking to get my vintage old school Pokemon cards, this whole binder appraised in this video. Hopefully you who are watching are a Pokemon card fan. All these cards are the old school, early 2000s, late 1990s first editions. I'm looking to get a number of how much you think this whole binder is worth. I am going to sell these cards. When, I don't know. And why I'm selling these cards is coming in another video. And I think it's very important you hear why I'm selling. And hopefully this will give you some thoughts about collecting too, as to why I'm selling these cards. I am going to go through this video how I'm going to structure this. I'm going to show you every page in this binder. I am not going to take every card out of the binder and show you what kind of condition. I'm going to give you a brief generalization. I'm trying to make this video short for your convenience, but please, at the end of the video, leave a comment of how much you think this binder is worth selling. I'm trying not to be biased. There's a lot of sentimental value in these cards, but I don't want to let that get in the way. Like, I want a fair shake of how much you think these cards are worth, and I hope you find this video enjoyable. All right, I'm gonna go through these really quick for the sake of this video. I don't want it to be too long, but this is the cards I'm hoping that you guys will take a look at and get it appraised. I would say most of these cards I show you are in pretty good condition, as in mint to near mint. So anyway, starting, we have the original Pokemon. You're gonna see I don't have the big three Shadowless First Edition. Like many of you out there, I don't have that kind of money to spend on Pokemon cards when it comes to how valuable these guys are in first editions. But moving on, I'm going to show you next. So we move on through the base set. You see there the first edition Pidgeot. Again, I'm going to make an effort here to go quick for the sake of time. All right, there's Arbok. Real quick, I have both the Red Cheeks and Yellow Cheeks Pikachu first edition Shadowless. Okay. We do have there's a first edition holographic Raichu. Okay, we got the sorry about the glare, first edition Nidoqueen. And we got the first edition Nidoking holographic. I'd say that's in pretty good. I'm gonna give that about a 6 out of 10 if it were to be graded. Okay, we got Raichu. I do not have him first edition. This Clefairy, about the same. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 if it were graded. All right, Ninetales, about the same, 6 out of 10 if it was graded. These Wigglytuffs I actually pulled from a jungle booster box, straight from the pack. So I mean, these are mint, near mint as you can get. Okay, moving on real quick. Okay, so you're gonna see I got a lot of first editions. I have completed all of the first edition fossil collection. I am one card away from completing the jungle edition first edition. Then obviously I'm a few cards short of completing the first edition base set. Here's one of my favorite cards. You got the Arcanine. Just kind of like the old school art right there, first edition Shadowless. Moving on. Okay, it's one of my big pages here. We got the full evolution of Poliwag to Poliwrath, first edition. This one I'd give about a 6 or a 7 if it were graded. Moving down, we got Alakazam. I'd give him about a 6 on the PSA. Of course, I'm not a PSA expert, but it's just my guess. There's Machamp. There's Victreebel. I pulled Victreebel from that same booster box. So that's only had one owner, just me. Okay, moving on. Okay, we got Rapid Dash. Slowbro, this card's a little bit bent up. Okay. Right here, it's got Magneton. I don't have a first edition Magneton in the base set, but I do have a first edition Magneton in the fossil set. All right. We go here. Okay, we got first edition Muck. Holographic. I'm going to point out to you there's two first edition Haunters. One, the base set, Shadowless. The other is your holographic Fossil. We got Gengar first edition. I pulled him from a Fossil box, I think. About 90% sure. And when these boxes I pulled were many years ago. There's Krabby. Who doesn't love Krabby? There's Kingler. Kingler's got a few dents in the card. One thing I need to point out here is there's mini electrodes, first edition. You got a first edition base set, Shadowless electrode. You have the first edition Jungle electrode. Then you have the first edition holographic electrode. Okay. Moving on, we have Hitmonchan. We got Hitmonchan. I probably give Hitmonchan here about a 7 if it was graded. Okay. All right, we got Coughing. Moving on. Here's a big one. You got Chansey. Now, Chansey here, I'd give this about a P. If I had a grade, probably a 6 or a 7 on the grade with Chansey. Okay. Kangaskhan. I remember I know some off-centering a little bit and pulled him from the booster box. All right, moving on. We got Mr. Mime, one of my favorite drawing or arts from the jungle. Art as in background. Scyther is the one missing jungle holographic. First edition I do not have. There's Jinx. We got both Magmars. First edition holographic Pinsir. Okay, moving on. First edition Gyarados. Now, what would I want to give him? I would give him, if it was an honest assessment here, probably a 5 out of 10 with this card. Okay. Moving on, we got Lapras. We got Ditto. There's Eevee. I got all 3 dogs. I think they're dogs. First edition Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon. Vaporeon, I would give a 9 or a 10. Why? I pulled that fresh from the booster box immediately into a sleeve, as well as these 2 Snorlaxes. I got lucky with that box. Let's just put it this way. Moving on, there's Kabutops and Aerodactyl. Okay, I pulled Aerodactyl from a Fossil booster box. We got Articuno. All right. Here we have the first edition Shadowless Zapdos. I'd give him a 5 or a 6 if it was graded. All right, then we got the Fossil Zapdos. We got the Fossil first edition Moltres. Right here, here's my favorite Pokemon, Dragonite. First edition Fossil Dragonite. There's Mewtwo. I don't have a Shadowless or a first edition of him. There's Mew, and here's the Topps holographic Mew. All right, now we're moving on to, now that we got the original 151 first editions out of the way, here are some extra cards that I've collected over the years that add value, I believe, to the, to this binder. These are, my brother previously owned and pulled these cards. These are first edition Typhlosion, Skarmory, and Kingdra, all in excellent condition. There's Steelix. Now, what we have here is a first edition Dark Charizard. It was either myself or my brother pulled this from a Team Rocket pack back in the late 90s, and we have protected it ever since, I meant to say. This is probably, I want to say, either 9.5 or a 10. All right, right there. The card is in excellent condition. All right, so if it were to be graded, I think it'd be 9.5 or a 10. Moving on, you probably spotted the Gold Star Charizard. But as you can see, where the flamethrower is, there's a little bit of a crease right there in the card that goes all the way to the edge of the card. Now, that crease did not make it to the back of the card. It is only on the front of the card. All right. So if this got graded, I think it would either be a 4 or a 3 because of that crease. Everything else looks fine. It's just that little crease. Okay. Moving on, I have all these Charizards, extra Charizards from the base set. I would give them, you know, good to mint condition. All right. And then, of course, I have all the energy shadowless from the base set. All right. There's Professor Oak First Edition, the Pokemon Flute. All right. Just moving on real quick through these. OG Pokedex. All right, so you're going to see all the first edition trainers that you would get, all these extra cards. If you were actually purchasing a first edition pack, the last thing you wanted to get was one of these instead of like a, you know, hoping for that Charizard, but this was the rare card oftentimes. So anyway, going through this real quick. I'm already at 10 minutes. Ugh. Okay, so the rest here are just kind of some miscellaneous cards. First edition Giovanni. We got Rocket Sneak Attack, Clefairy Doll. All right. Here is another big one. It's kind of buried in the back of this binder. It's the first edition Rocket Dark Dragonite. Okay. This card is in near mint. It's mint. I wouldn't say near mint, but I'd say it's mint. I would give this either an 8 or a 9. Okay, depending on who you send that to, but this card is in excellent condition. So all these from the Team Rocket era. That's a first edition non-shadowless Machamp. All right, we got a cool Porygon, Brock's Ninetale, Celebi, Ho-Oh. Then they got the legendary dogs. All right, we got a light Dragonite that's in very mint condition. Okay, another dark Dragonite. I got that 25th anniversary Charizard. All right, just gonna move on real quick. If I can, this is an error. This should have the jungle stamp. It does not. Okay, we got a couple of Mewtwo's, second editions. See all those spirals. Another first edition Machamp, second edition Nidoking. So, there we go. Second edition Hitmonchan. Lots of second editions and Rocket cards to kind of fill out. These are all holographic. Been collecting all these throughout the year. Okay. You're going to see on this page I have a lot of Poliwrath and Alakazams from base set to second edition. All right. Dark Gyarados. Here's the Dark Gengar. All right, Sabrina's Gengar. Got some Alakazams. Second edition and regular. Second edition Clefairy, Clefable. Okay, moving on. Just real quick as I wrap up this video. What happened to my light? Here we go. We got Dark Golbat, Dark Deck Trio. Why is my light dark on this video? I don't know. Okay. I do have a couple of shiny Pokemon. Shiny Kabutops and Noctowl. They are not first edition. Some Detective Pikachu from the movie. Here we got the Japanese Dragonite Kind of look at that alternative art. See if I get this to focus. In magnesium, if I'm saying that correctly. All right. Let's get that sleeve out of the way. That is not a holographic first edition Pidgeot. Yeah, and just to kind of round out the video here, some of the 25th anniversary cards. So I got Blastoise and Venusaur. And here we kind of have some full art cards. All right. Here's that promo from Articuno. And lastly, the last page. Man, what happened to the light on my camera? Anyway, that's all I have. Please leave a comment below on what you think I should sell this entire binder as a whole for. I thank you for your patience, and leave a comment. Thank you.